this and that and what the fuck else, episode 133. In this episode I'll be talking a bit about the balloons, obviously, the pestilence, the EU, gender, the global revolution, health, NATO, the Nazis, sanctions, and something interesting out of Ukraine and America. Now, the past few days has been filled with stories about the balloons and UFOs, whatever else the White House could dream up and feed to their propaganda machines. What is for me the most interesting thing is that the rest of the world is making a joke out of the Americans. This balloon shooting of theirs. What craziness is that? But it is that balloon stories is a deflection. They are deflecting the people's attention away from the realities of that Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, actually a war crime, and from some of the severe things that is coming out about the pestilence, and we better wake up, open our eyes. They are operating from the premises of bullshit baffles brains, and we should not allow them to do it. So, I just came back from a 7-day jail term, which most of you by now should know, and I'm in a few places about that whole story. The most important thing is that I'm actually highly bebliksemd, as we would say, because who the fuck are these people that can decide what can we say and what can't we say? And what makes me angry is that if you dare to question the popular narrative, you're in deep shit immediately. We can thank God for the fact that Musk took over Twitter and opened up that door, because the ugly stuff is at least seeing the light. I'm in a fell mood actually tonight. Yes, it's tonight, it's just past midnight here in the southern tip of Africa where I sit. You will see this tomorrow morning, but as you can see, I'm sitting in the darkness again. I'm upset about that. I'm angry about that, because a large part of this load shedding shit is politically manipulated, and now it got out of hand. The politicians has lost control over their dirty things. But the wheels are turning, and I'm saying it again. Load shedding is going to topple this ANC government, mark my words. But let's start and look at this image. This is a fantastic image. This is one of those images that makes you think. Look at that. What is the story in that image? Who is that dog waiting for? For me, if this was entered in a competition, in a salon, I would rate it very high. For the technical quality of the photograph is damn good, but more prominent for me is the story that it is telling there. So I'll give this shot a solid 9. There is a little bit of a technicality which I'm not even going to mention, that is a bit disturbing, but the overall image makes me forgive that mistake. And then we get to this. Now, before I show you these images, I want to explain something to you. there was a lot of stories appearing all over the media about those funny red circular clouds that were claimed to be above Turkey right before the earthquakes. And the guys are talking a lot of shit about that. And there was, I followed that and I dug around. And I listened to meteorologists talking and so forth. And then, lo and behold, this appears on Telegram. Lenticular clouds during the sunset in the Beloretsk region of Bashkortostan. The photographer did well with these images. Look at this image, and there you can see the clouds. Those were the cloud formations that they were pumping out on Facebook and Twitter and Telegram and making a hell of a story about it. And here is another shot, another angle on the same type of thing. And this is spectacular. I never knew that it was called lenticular clouds. And there's the final shot. This is fantastic. And I want to say, be careful when you see these weird things and the people go crazy about it. They are making a lot of stories about that harp thing and whatever. And all I have said in one of the debates that I got involved with, just for 1 minute, think about this. If you've got a little picnic table and there's some glasses with wine on it, and you just bump it slightly with your knee, chances are well you're going to tip a few glasses and you're going to spill a lot of the drinks. But if those same glasses were standing on a snooker table or a billiard table, you cannot move that. You can do what you like to that table. You're not going to move it. Now, try and imagine for a moment, what energy will you need to vibrate a tectonic plate? Think about that. And there's guys that want to come with all types of clever answers about it. The fact of the matter is, you're talking about a piece of earth that weighs billions and trillions and millions and trillions and more millions and Brazilians and gazillions of tons. And if you want to have a machine that's going to move that thing, wherever on this earth you've placed that machine to test the thing, there would have been a fucking wipeout of a continent. Think about that. And then we get to the pestilence. The FDA buried their heads in the sand as 44% of the pregnant trial participants suffered miscarriages. A document released under court order reveals that 44% of pregnant women participating in the snakebite trials suffered miscarriages. This is fucking serious, and I hope to see heads roll for this. So forget about funny clouds and shaking tectonic plates. This is facts. This is something people need to pay for what they did here. And then we get to this. For the older generation and my generation, we remember this girl, the actress Raquel Welch, who rose to fame as a sex symbol of the 1960s, died Wednesday after a brief illness. She was 82. I'm not going to say anything more about it. To me, Raquel Welch was the first girl that I became aware of as an international star. And then we get to this in the EU. The Netherlands will supply Ukraine with 20,000 ammunition for Leopard 2 tanks, Defense Minister Kajsa Ollongren said. Also, the Dutch authorities plan to send spare parts to the armored vehicles to Kiev and train units of the armed forces of Ukraine. All I'm going to say about this is, what the fuck is the story with Europe and the chicks as ministers of defense? What the hell? A woman is not designed to be a warrior. They are there to nurture. I cannot understand this, but this is the crazy times we live in. And then we get to this, and this is very disturbing. God's pronouns are they, them. The First Congregational Church of Pasadena United Church of Christ. Can you believe this? I am speechless. Think about it. I'm a Christian, so for me, this is serious. And then we get to this. It's a cult and scientists are not immune. Egg producing is almost as bad as bleeders and birthing bodies. What dehumanizing name for women will the tolerance mob come up with next? The Telegraph. Use egg producing, not female, say scientists in a call to phase out binary language. Experts say other terms that could be problematic include man, woman, mother and father, as well as survival of the fittest. Well, from me, fuck these experts. They've totally lost the plot. Totally. They are actually lunatics that needs to be locked up. But society is tolerating them, and that emboldens them to come out with more shit. We need to stop this. And then to our own South African terra firma, listen to this cuck. Among the key values of the WCG are caring and respect in the work the WCG does for citizens, including our alphabet residents, some of whom have faced cruel prejudice, discrimination and violence. It is critical that we publicly demonstrate our solidarity with these communities. This is a government and province of tolerance and acceptance which welcomes and celebrates diversity. Premier Wind. Fuck. I cannot understand this. Can the people and the society not see how corrupt and morally bankrupt people has become? And this shit is WEF instructions, because they want the family destroyed and they want good morality out of the door, because they know people that have strong family bonds and good morality cannot be manipulated by them. Think about it. And then we get to this, the part and parcel of the global revolution for me. The seizure of Russian private assets creates a dangerous precedent. Freezing the assets of Russians is questionable enough, but seizing them creates a dangerous precedent, warns my guard Hirlap columnist Peter Fair. And we can already see the fallout of this. If you look at the economic indicators, you can see how countries are walking away from the dollar and the euro. And then we get to this, and this is something that makes me fucking angry. The US demands details on Argentina visas for Russians. The Department of Homeland Security has requested information from Argentine courts regarding possible violations in granting residence permits and citizenship to Russian women who gave birth in the South American Republic. First question, who the fuck are the Americans to think that they have any say and any right to anything done in Argentina? That's the first question. The second question is, who the hell are they to want to decide that the courts violated something? Argentinian courts, operating under Argentinian law, these cretins from Washington will decide whether they have not broken the law. I cannot tell you the levels of my disdain and disgusting emotions I have about the Americans. And then we get to the health issues. It doesn't matter your sex, your age, your religion, or your race. Eat more steak and your health and life will improve. And I can vouch for that. And then we get to this. This is the Gang of Four responsible for blowing up Nord Stream 2, which they had planned at least 6 months before Putin invaded Ukraine. What should be done with them in your opinion? Sent to jail for 20 years, sent to jail for life, worse. All I'm going to say is these are war criminals. What they have done is a war crime. And if the world, and specifically Germany, is going to let the Americans get away with this, then Germany deserves every bit of suffering that is on their doorstep. And then we get to this disturbing image for us as South Africans. Look at that, and what is that flag in the middle there? And what the fuck is going on here? This is a group of Nazis, and they're in England. How the Azov Battalion has very strong links in the UK, and it's been recruiting for years within New Nazi worldwide. There is also strong evidence of a dark and sinister presence of Nazism in the Kiev government and in the black-clad international battalions that carry out ethnic cleansing of Russians in eastern Ukraine. He was sent to make contact with the nascent paramilitary National Action NA, and it appears the overhyped Combat 18 terrorist group in UK. It is understood that this desire came after conversations with a very small number of naive British observers and adventurers in the Ukraine who convinced Fontana that both NA and C-18 were heavily drilled paramilitary groups. The photo is from Misanthropic Division in Dover, January 2016. I was just surprised when I saw that. I saw the image and the flag caught my eye, and I thought I had to share it with you. And then there was this post from Gonzalo Lira. In World War II, the Nazis bombed London in retaliation for the unrestricted terror bombing of German cities by the British. The evil Winston Churchill learned to target innocent civilians during the Boer War. The Americans learned from him, and they've been doing it ever since. Now, the reason I share this is I was quite surprised that Gonzalo Lira would have a reference to the Boer War. And then there is this. This is on a Telegram group. They call themselves Track a Nazi Merc. Another is Stephen Prinsloo. He also is in Ukraine with Jericho Walker. He's from Centurion, Gauteng, South Africa. Look at that. Fighting for the Nazis. And on that same channel, I saw the references that this guy has been reported to the Department of Foreign Affairs in South Africa, and apparently they're waiting for him to come back. And then we get to this. Think of Donetsk like you would Orania. People hoping to preserve their culture in their own republic because government doesn't recognize their language, religion, history, etc. Imagine government is so opposed to this idea, they start bombing the civilians. Who would you support? The blue-yellow flag? I think it is a good question, and something that we should think about as South Africans before you wave that Ukraine flag. And then this article. Marina Yankina, the director of the Russian Western Military District's Financial Supply Department, committed suicide by jumping out of a window in St. Petersburg, Russia. And immediately the things were humming and buzzing, and they were saying, yeah, this is a Putin opponent, and as usual she was thrown through a window, and all that shit about people going through windows. And I tried to find more information on this, and then I stumbled onto this post. She was sabotaging equipment supplies to Wagner and was feeding Western officials information. And I thought to myself, well, there's the answer. Whether she jumped through that window or was thrown through that window, that is immaterial to me. Fact of the matter is, I was just curious, why did she go through a window? And this is the answer. And then we get to this Borel. Sanctions are a slow-acting poison like arsenic. It takes time to produce their effect, but they do, and they do it in an irreversible way. And he seems quite chuffed with himself. And I did a Skidmark yesterday that I published this morning about the Russians being dehumanized by the West. Now listen to this, okay, he's quite chuffed with himself. But the reality is, the truth is, the European community is suffering from the sanctions. The Russians absorbed it. Why? Two main reasons. First of all, Russia is independent when it comes to energy. Second, Russia is independent and self-sufficient when it comes. That makes a huge difference. And this Borel, he's an evil fucker, man. Now, this is some background that I thought I want to share with you. In 2014, Ukraine needed a loan. There were two offers. One, the World Bank, IMF, offered $15 billion with conditions. One, lift the ban on private sector land ownership. Two, cut pensions and fuel subsidies. Russia offered $15 billion too, but without the austerity and privatization requirements. Ukrainian President Yanukovych chose Russia's offer. So the US instigated a coup, ousting Yanukovych. The coup government accepted the IMF loan and conditions. Multinational consortia with US capital have already bought 1/3 of Ukraine's farmland. And there you have it. That's how the shit started. But now I've got some news for them. A large portion of this farmland that they are referring to here is in the Donbass. So, good luck to these companies with their the multinational consortia with US capital. They'll have to go to Moscow and put in a land claim. I am curious to see where that will end. I could venture idea of how it's going to go, but I'm not going to do it. You can think for yourself. And then we get to this, and this was a video that I saw on Twitter, and it was absolutely shocking. Look at that railway line. And then, this is not in a third world country. This is in America. The America that has got billions of dollars to pour into Ukraine and into wars all over the globe. This is their own infrastructure looking like this. Shocking. This is an actual freight train moving over a twisted, bendy railway track linking Ohio and Indiana in the USA. It's like a fourth world country. America should fix its shithole infrastructure rather than waging endless wars. That is good advice. And Ohio, that is where that fucking derailment has happened now with that Moorse chemical spill. This is it. And we stay on the rails, and now we're in South Africa, and look at this fuck up. Oh good grief, here we go again. These are brand new trains with 30%ers driving them. Watch them blame load shedding for signal failures. Look at that fuck up. But this is what you get when 30%ers, IQ 70s, are in charge of major infrastructure. And then we get to that what a fuck, and this one you will just shake your head. South Africans living in other countries like Cape Town must come back home in order for us to be able to help them, reveals Ayanda Dlodlo. It is not clear if Dlodlo is aware that Cape Town is in South Africa. We could not reach her to find out. Story developing. Think about that, shake your head, and just wonder. Please give me a like, subscribe, and share the thing, and I thank you for your support.